In Wednesday's edition of 2020 Daily Trail Markers, Republican rivals hoping to challenge President Trump in 2020 have just a few more months to declare their intentions. With state deadlines looming this fall, former Ohio Governor John Kasich's upcoming visit to New Hampshire is fueling speculation he may be considering a run for 2020. New Hampshire holds the nation's first presidential primary election in February, and an early win in the battleground state could give a significant boost to campaigns. CBS News 2020 campaign reporter Nicole Sganga spoke with some members of the Republican Party about the prospect of taking on President Trump, and she joins me now from Manchester, New Hampshire. Nicole, thanks so much for being with us. How is John Kasich's team describing his upcoming visit to New Hampshire?
Well, certainly the former governor's advisors are cautious about how they describe this visit. They say that simply he is testing the waters, looking to see what the mood on the ground is here in the Granite State in New Hampshire. He has not yet decided whether or not he will jump into the Republican primary. They do know that he will speak about political decency, the state of civic discourse in this country, and political leadership during his trip in September.
And is it clear, Nicole, how does Kasich stack up in New Hampshire? Why would he feel confident enough to attempt to challenge the president?
Well, former Ohio Governor John Kasich did come in second place in the New Hampshire primary back in 2016, behind then candidate, now President Donald Trump. There's also one factor that is pushing a possible bid forward, and that is independent voters. Over 40% of voters in New Hampshire are independent or undeclared. That means that they can pick up a Republican or a Democratic ballot come primary day. And it's that sector of voters that Governor John Kasich would hope to capture if he was to throw his hat in the ring. But certainly President Donald Trump does have large support here in the Granite State. According to a recent UNH poll, 82% of Republicans feel as though they're in support of President Donald Trump. Overall, 42% of New Hampshire voters support the president at this time. So unclear if Governor Kasich would have a successful bid. One thing that his advisors tell me over and over again is that he's being realistic. He's not going to jump into this race until he feels as though he could launch a formidable challenge.
Well, you touched on it a moment ago, but what is the significance of New Hampshire to Republicans?
Well, certainly the Republican primary is always ripe for a surprise, and a number of Republican lawmakers and advisors I spoke with today pointed to the 1992 primary race where Pat Buchanan gave then President George H.W. Bush a run for his money, hurting the incumbent president during the general election. Of course, President George H.W. Bush did go on to lose the general election in 1992. In terms of 2020, President Donald Trump has put a lot of eggs into this basket. He visited Manchester, New Hampshire for a campaign rally just last week, garnering in thousands of supporters here in Manchester. He also launched his first field team right here in New Hampshire. Already, organizers are working on electing the president, or re-electing the president, rather, 15 months out. He lost New Hampshire back in 2016 by 2,700 votes. And his campaign team tells me they feel that they can win it this time around.
All right. Well, John Kasich is not the only name being floated as a potential challenger to President Trump. You spoke with former Arizona Senator and now CBS News contributor Jeff Flake. He says he's received an uptick in phone calls from donors. What's driving the speculation that the president could face new challengers from within his own party?
That's right. I spoke with former Senator Jeff Flake over the phone earlier today. Now, he joked to me that he always gets a continuous flow of phone calls from supporters, from donors asking him to jump in this race. But he also said he's noticed an uptick in the past week, perhaps because of some of the anxieties around the financial markets, some speculation about a possible economic recession in the months or even year ahead. So he has noticed more and more people reaching out. That said, the former senator from the state of Arizona reinforces that the door on a possible Republican primary bid in 2020 is fully closed. He is not jumping into this race.
Okay, it doesn't sound like there's any wiggle room there. You also spoke, Nicole, to former South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford, who is also weighing a potential 2020 Republican bid. He recently visited New Hampshire. How is he feeling about his chances of winning the Republican primary there?
Well, that's right. He was in New Hampshire just this past month, meeting one-on-one with Republican leaders across the state, dropping into Republican meetings just to show face. And he tells me that from all of his meetings, it's a green light. And so although he has not made up his mind just yet, he felt that his trip was productive. He also feels as though there is room for a conversation about financial debt and deficits within the United States, the state of the economy right now, especially in light of this week's news. And all of those signs are, again, encouraging him to consider this bid, to take it seriously. He tells me next time he visits the Granite State, if he visits, it will be with some sort of an announcement.
All right, Nicole Sganga, no shortage of candidates or potential candidates where you are. Nicole, thanks very much.
Thank you.